I'll do my tic-tac-toe. What's he talking about? How absorbent his diapers are? Oh, thank you for being a black woman. I appreciate that. It doesn't even look at his transportation secretary. That's hilarious. Guy, sheep. Okay, thank you, Mr. Anti-White Military Man. Thank you, cripple with a mask. Yeah, right? He's fucking huge. Mark Milley, the super anti-white monster. Ah! Thank you.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Yay! Hooray! Our leader in senility and spiraling towards inconsequentialism. Come on. We know what you're here for, man. Let's get it rolling. Okay, it doesn't look like the full House, does it? It doesn't look like the full joint session of Congress. Like normally it's is this House behind him? Because I don't think everybody's there. I think this might be a set.
Thank you.
Because he had a set for when he got. They keep not showing the whole crowd. It's really weird. This doesn't look like previous State of the Union.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Please. Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justice of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again.
Oh,
Tonight,
thanks to you. Thanks to you. Here, they're gonna do it again. Does this look like? I guess,
we
man.
meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom
This
will
lady
always
with her face
triumph
over here.
over
What the
tyranny.
fuck is going on? She's intense.
Six,
Triumph over tyranny? What is he referring to? January 6th?
Six days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways.
Yeah, you're right about
But he
that.
badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined.
What the fuck are you talking
Ukrainian
about?
people.
They've completely encircled Kiev and... Yeah, well, I expected this. This is the propaganda tour that will be played to all the Western world as Putin takes Ukraine. Look at all these Ukrainian flags. You guys couldn't even put Ukraine on a map, you
Every
motherfuckers.
Ukrainian, their fearlessness, their courage, their determination.
Oh, suck a
literally
dick, dude.
inspires the world. Groups of citizens blocking tanks with their bodies.
Yeah.
Everyone from students to retirees
Blocking
to
tanks with
teachers
their bodies.
turned soldiers.
That was a 2chan
defending their homeland.
copy pasta.
And in this struggle, President Zelensky said in his speech to the European Parliament, "Light will win over darkness." The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight, sitting with the First Lady.
I would
Let
think...
each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine.
If you're able to stand.
Thank you.
This looks. Are they just social distancing? This doesn't look like the same room. This is not the same room. Hold on, sorry. That.
She's bright, she's strong, and she's resolved.
Maybe I'm missing something. And of course it's a woman. Is she clapping for herself? I am fat because I am an ambassador in America.
Yes.
If I was in Ukraine, I would be skinnier because Russia
We, the
would
United
sanction my
States of America,
fucking belt
stand with
dress
the Ukrainian
size.
people. Throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving.
Like you?
The
Or
threat
Trudeau?
to America and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability
Come
in Europe
on.
after World War II. The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations. It matters.
Does
American
it?
diplomacy matters.
American hegemony
resolve
matters.
Putin's latest attack on
American
Ukraine
control matters.
was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected
what we did
repeated
to
efforts
Afghanistan and
at
Iraq.
diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home,
Are
in
you
this
kidding?
chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready. We are united, and that's what we did. We stayed united. We prepared extensively and carefully. We spent months building coalitions of other freedom-loving nations in Europe and the Americas, from America to the Asian and African continents, to confront Putin. Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying your European
This American
allies.
Sign Language lady thinks she's in a fucking rap
We
video or
shared with
something.
the
Look at
world
her.
in advance what we knew Putin was planning, and precisely how we would try to falsify and justify his aggression.
False flag? False
We
flag?
countered Russia's lies with the truth. And now that he's acted, the free world is holding him accountable, along with 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland, are inflicting
Surprisingly,
pain
very
on
poor
Russia
decision, Switzerland,
and supporting the people of
considering your
Ukraine.
history.
Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been.
What about China?
Together,
Who is this guy? That guy looks an awful lot like that Rothschild gentleman. Doesn't he?
Together,
Joseph
along
Rothschild?
with our allies, we are right now
Somewhere.
enforcing powerful
Probably not
economic
him.
sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks from the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble,
The Russian
making
ruble.
Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access. We're choking Russia's access to technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who built billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more.
Oh,
The United
boy.
States,
Ugh, you're gonna get
I mean it.
something. I mean it. I mean it. He really means it this time. He might even sanction your
The United
whatever we
States
haven't already sanctioned.
Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're
You think they
coming
didn't
for you,
calculate that?
ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding additional...
That's a bad
squeeze on their
idea. That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea.
He has no idea what's coming. The ruble has already lost 30% of its value.
Oh boy.
The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value.
You might take that as a sign
and
that the United
trading
States has
remains
actually gone
suspended.
to
The
kinetic.
Russian economy is
or at least
reeling, and Putin alone
He might consider us
is the
belligerents
one
in
to
this war at
blame.
this point.
Together with our allies, we're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance, economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine.
I would.
And will continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering.
What about the middle-class Russian citizens that didn't want this either? You're going to kill them. The oligarchs are keeping their shit. They're prepared. The moms and grandpas who are living off pensions in Russia aren't prepared.
Our forces
You're choking
are
them
not
off.
engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine.
Thank
Our forces
God.
are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch.
Well, we are officially belligerents, I would assume. Look at Millie. Millie is, I don't know if he was in on this idea. He might not have been so agreeable to this. 'Cause I wouldn't be if I was
Ukrainians are fighting back with
JSOC.
pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos. But while he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run. And a pound of Ukrainian people, proud people, pound for pound, ready to
A
fight
pound of
every
Ukrainian
inch of
people?
energy
Is that
they
what you're
have.
about to say? You're going to sacrifice it for a pound of
30
flesh or
years of
something?
independence.
That seems like a little bit of a Freudian
repeatedly
slip there.
shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. To all Americans, I'll be honest with you,
This
as
is
I
to
always
me.
promised I would be. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country has cost around the world. And I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy and that we use every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers. Tonight,
This is
I
bad,
can announce the
guys.
United
This is
States
not
has worked
good.
with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world.
That's going to be used
America
up in like,
We'll
what,
lead that effort,
3 or 4 days? 60 million barrels?
releasing 30 million barrels of our own strategic
Hold on.
petroleum reserve. And we stand ready to do more if necessary, united with our allies. These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home, but I know news about what's happening can seem alarming to all Americans. But I want you to know,
In 2020,
going
the
to be
United States
okay.
consumed
We're going to be
20.54 million
okay.
barrels of oil
The history
daily.
of this
That will
era
last
is
for
written.
2
war in
days.
Ukraine
60
will
million
have
barrels
left
is 2
Russia
days
weaker
of our
and the rest of
consumption.
the world stronger.
That's nothing.
Well, while it shouldn't,
Thanks, Biden. Start a war over what? This is
While
going to
it
make
shouldn't
gas
have
go
taken-
insane.
well, it shouldn't have taken something so terrible for people around the world to see what's at stake. Now everyone sees it
This
clearly.
isn't good, guys. This is
We
not
see the
a great.
unity among leaders of
If you haven't,
nations.
you know,
A more unified Europe, a more unified West.
a more
We
unified
see
Europe.
unity among the people who are gathering in cities and large crowds around the world.
I mean,
even
Ukraine
in
certainly
Russia,
won the
to
Western
demonstrate their support for the people of
social
Ukraine.
media fight, but this is a kinetic
The
fight.
battle between democracy and autocracies. Democracies are rising to the moment, and the world is clearly choosing the side of peace and security.
No, they're
This
not.
is the real test, and it's going to take time. So let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world.
This is all the jargon and all the technical noise that comes with starting a war. These are the words that Bush used when starting the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And these are the same people who clapped that on when the war in Iraq and Afghanistan began. The same war in Libya, war in
We
Somalia,
meet
war in
tonight
Yemen, war all
in
over the
America
world.
that has
Every single
lived
time.
through
These people announce it,
two of the
and they
hardest
send
years
your
this
children to
nation has
war,
ever
and
faced.
they laugh about it while
The
they
pandemic has been
make
punished.
money off of it.
And so many
Pandemic.
families are
Thank you.
living
Let's get back to the other
paycheck
fucking
paycheck,
thing.
struggling to keep up with the rising cost of food, gas, housing.
Yeah,
and so
it's your
much more.
fault. Because of
I
shit like this.
understand, like many of you did. My dad had to leave his home in Scranton,
Oh,
Pennsylvania
shut
to find
up.
work. So like many of you, I grew up in a family when the price of food went up, it was felt throughout the family. It had an impact. That's when one of the first things I did as president was fight to pass the American Rescue Plan. Because people were hurting. We needed to act, and we did. Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history to lift us out of a crisis. It fueled our efforts to vaccinate the nation and combat COVID-19, delivered immediate economic relief to tens of millions of Americans.
Thought the whole world had to come together to fight COVID-19. Now we're at war with Russia?
Cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk. It cut the cost of health care insurance. And as my dad used to say, it gave the people just a little bit of breathing room. Unlike the $2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans, the American Rescue Plan.
Oh my goodness, these people are crazy! That gave like $2,000 a year of relief to the average American. Are you kidding? Well, yeah, these are the people who passed it. They know exactly what they're doing, what they're cheering for. The boos and the cheers are there specifically to make you think, this is good, this is bad. And when they play it on CNN, those are going to be amplified for the reasons that they will manipulate them into thinking what they want them to think. As Mika Brzezinski said in that viral moment a few years ago when Trump was running, is that
it worked.
It's art. It's not their job to control these people's minds. It's our job.
Created over 6.5 million new
Big
jobs
club, and
just
you ain't
last
in it.
year. More jobs.
Yeah, here's the jobs. You were right about that comment. You called it.
Than ever before in the history of the United States of America. The economy grew at a rate of 5.7 last year, the strongest growth rate in 40 years. And the first step in bringing fundamental change to our economy that hasn't worked for working people in this nation for too long. For the past 40 years.
Yeah, because the rules that you've been writing for 40 years. The past 40 years that you've been in office.
Top and benefits would trickle down and everyone would benefit.
You made the rules for that.
Trickle-down theory led to a weaker economic growth, lower wages, bigger deficits, and a widening gap between the top.
I would also like to point out that no conservative or no supply side economist has ever used the phrase.
And I realize we have fundamental disagreements on this.
I'm sorry, no demand side economist has ever used the phrase trickle down economics. That's just a hokey phrase that people use to make
educate Americans,
like pee.
Grow the workforce, build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down, because we know.
That's what you're saying from the top down. You are the top and you're telling the bottom what to do. That is top down.
Because we know when the middle class grows, the poor have a way up and the wealthy do very well. America used to have the best roads, bridges, and airports on earth.
Oh, yeah, we sure did. Like
our infrastructure is ranked 13th in the world. We won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix it. That's why it was so important to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I thank my Republican friends who joined to invest and rebuild America. The single biggest investment in history.
Biggest doesn't always mean best, buddy. Also, that's not your money.
To make it happen. We're done talking about infrastructure weeks. We're now talking about an infrastructure decade. And look,
I'm pretty sure Trump said that exact same line. I think he stole that from Trump.
It's going to transform America, to put us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with the rest of the world, particularly China. I've told Xi Jinping it's never been a good bet to bet against the American people. We'll create good jobs for millions of Americans, modernizing roads, airports, ports, waterways, all across America. And we'll do it to withstand the devastating effects of climate change and promote environmental justice.
Right.
We'll build a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Begin to replace the poisonous lead pipes so every child, every American has clean water to drink at home and at school.
We're going to be energy independent as he closes the Keystone XL pipeline.
Provide affordable, high-speed internet for every American, rural, suburban, urban, and tribal communities. 4,000 projects have already been announced. Many of you have announced them in your districts. And tonight, I'm announcing that this year, we will start fixing over 65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges in disrepair.
That's something I can get behind. Good.
Folks,
Thank you, Biden. Thanks, Biden. Sure, build some bridges. Go for it. I mean, naturally that money goes and then it gets written out of the state budget, so the money doesn't actually get used for anything. But whatever, it's better than blowing kids up.
we're going to do it by buying
Waste the money
American.
better than blowing children up.
Buy American products. Support
Sounds
American
awful
jobs.
Trumpy. Man, are you saying to make America great again? Seems a little bit like
The
that.
federal government spends about $600 billion a year to keep this country safe and secure.
No,
There's
they
been a
spend that
law on
money
the books
to
for almost a
occupy
century.
the people.
To make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses.
That's
Every administration, Democrat and Republican, says they'll do it, but we're actually doing it. We'll buy America to make sure everything from the deck of an aircraft carrier to the steel on highway guardrails is made in America from beginning to end.
that would be wonderful.
All of it.
That would be absolutely great. That would truly make America great again. But you're
folks,
lying.
To compete for the jobs of the future, we also need a level playing field with China and other competitors. That's why it's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging
You're not going to get it
technology
passed,
and
brother. Your
American
senator just had a
manufacturing.
heart attack because he took the
We used to
vaccine
invest
booster,
almost
and now you've only got
2%
48
of our
votes.
GDP in research and development. We don't now. Can't.
Don't now.
China is. Let me give you one example why it's so important to pass. If you travel 20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio, you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land. It won't look like much, but if you stop and look closely, you'll see a field of dreams. The ground in which America.
This is the thing he wrote. He thought this was a great line.
That's where Intel, the American company that helped build Silicon Valley,
Oh.
is going to build a $20 billion semiconductor megasite. Up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one
Beautiful.
place.
Great. Thank you, Biden.
10,000 new jobs. And in those factories, the average job about $135,000 a year. Some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size of a fingertip. The power of the world in everyday
Oh, they're a little
lives.
smaller than that, but
From smartphones, technology, the internet,
size of a
technology that's yet to
fingertip.
be
That's
invented.
as small as the chips get, I guess,
That's just the beginning.
in America.
Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who is here tonight. I don't know where Pat is. Pat, there you go, Pat. Stand up.
Interesting. I could get behind
Pat.
this. Somebody's good idea. That through.
Pat came to see me, and he told
Biden
me
administration hasn't done everything wrong, especially when it comes to China. They've kept some of Trump's programs up.
to $100 billion. That would be the biggest investment in manufacturing in American history. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. So let's not wait any longer. Send it to my desk. I'll sign it, and we'll really take off. In a
Why
big way.
are they waiting for you to sign that bill? What does it mean for them?
And folks,
I'll look into that, guys. I'm gonna make a video. about
Intel
that.
is not
I'm gonna look into
alone. There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's
'Cause
what's
of
happening.
Trump's stuff that he did.
Ford
Yeah.
is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles,
Like the
creating
tariffs on China that he
11,000 jobs
didn't
across
quite
the
get rid
country.
of.
GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan.
That whole electric
All
vehicle
told,
thing is a meme.
369,000 new manufacturing jobs were created in America last year alone. Folks, powered by people I've met like JoJo Burgess from generations of union steelworkers in Pittsburgh, who's here with us tonight. Where are you, JoJo?
Where are you? I don't know where
There you go.
anybody
Thanks,
is.
buddy. As Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says, As Sherrod Brown says, it's time to bury the label Rust Belt. It's time to see the what used to be called Rust Belt become the home.
Can you remember it?
A significant resurgence of manufacturing.
He couldn't remember it. He said this time for the Rust Belt to become, and he had a phrase for it, but he couldn't remember the phrase.
Record job growth, higher wages. Too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills. Inflation is robbing them of gains they thought otherwise they would be able to feel. I get it. That's why my top priority is getting prices under control. Look, our economy roared back faster than almost anyone predicted. But the pandemic meant that businesses had a hard time hiring enough people because of the pandemic to keep up production in their factories. So you didn't have people making those beams at
Wonder why that was. Could that have anything to do with your expansion of the unemployment program?
The panic also disrupted the global supply chain. Factories
for the same reason.
Close. When that happens, it takes longer to make goods and get them to the warehouses, to the stores, and prices go up.
That's what we've been telling you.
Cars last year. 1/3 of all the inflation was because of automobile sales. There weren't enough semiconductors to make all the cars that people wanted to buy. And guess what? Prices of automobiles went way up, especially used vehicles.
Oh, thanks for letting me know. I didn't have any idea.
And so we have a choice.
I get driven around by Secret Service.
One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poorer. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation.
Huh?
Lower your costs, not your wages.
Wages are part of costs.
Folks.
The things cost money because people build them. Wages are costs, you idiot. What the fuck? The costs are the wages.
That means
that's the
make
biggest
more
part
cars
of the cost.
and semiconductors in America.
That's going to make them cost more because of your stupid
infrastructure
shit.
in America. More goods moving faster and cheaper in America. More jobs.
It'll be cheaper to make them in America for why?
Instead
I mean,
of
I'm all for
foreign
it.
supply
Tariff to
chains,
other countries, but it's
make
going to cost
it in
more.
America.
You can't promise less cost and made in America. That's not how it works.
Economists.
Unless you're promising to completely deregulate the entire economy, which I kind of doubt Joe Biden's doing.
Economists call this
ASL
increasing the productive capacity of our economy.
Economy.
I call it building a better America. To fight inflation will lower your costs and lower the deficit. 17 Nobel laureates in economics said my plan will ease long-term inflationary pressures. Top business leaders.
Who?
And I believe most Americans support the plan.
What?
Here's the plan.
Give us a vote then. Do a fucking Band-Aid
Cut the cost
vote.
of prescription drugs.
Please, because I said so.
We pay more for the same drug
If I ask real nicely,
produced
they'll
by the
probably do
same
it.
company in America than any other country in the world. Just look at insulin. 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. In Virginia, I met a 13-year-old boy, the handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis.
And what's funny is Trump had a plan to lower the price of insulin. Biden's axed
He
that
and his
plan.
dad
It's,
both have
it's
type
actually
1
went
diabetes.
down under Trump and then back up under Biden.
Which means they need insulin every single day.
Jesus, this kid's gotta feel weird.
Insulin costs about $10 a vial.
I'm the
today.
diabetes kid.
That's what it costs the pharmaceutical company. But drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I spoke with Joshua's mom. Imagine what it's like to look at your child who needs insulin.
Here we
to
go.
stay
This is when
healthy
you can start getting angry.
and have no idea how in God's name you're going to be able to pay for it.
That's
What
sick.
it does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be. I really mean to think about that. That's what I think about. You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way.
You know, he
For
loves
Joshua-
children's birthday parties. Joe Biden, he loves him some children's birthday parties.
200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes. Let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month. So everyone can afford it.
Are you making the insulin? Do you know how much
And
the process
drug
costs?
companies
Are
will
you doing
do
that?
very, very well. Their profit margin.
This is like a child's version of the economic
While
market.
we're at it, I know we have great disagreements on this floor with this. Let's let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs.
Literally everybody everywhere says let's let that happen. Nobody's against that.
already
It's just when the vote comes to the floor, it never goes through.
set the price for VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings
Who is saving
permanent.
$2,400 a month on anything?
Second,
Anybody? I think you pulled that out of your ass, Joe.
let's cut energy costs for families. An average of $500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient.
Tax credits,
Get a tax
sure.
credit for
That's
it.
just less money that's
Double
being stolen
America's
from
clean
you.
energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month
Electric vehicles
that you're
are
not
a
going to have to
meme.
pay at the pump. Folks,
Because the gas prices are going to shoot through the roof. That's
Third.
why he's all, yeah, you don't want to have to pay at the pump because I'm going to make it way worse to pay at the
the
pump.
third thing we can do to change the standard of living for hardworking folks is cut the cost of child care.
How
Cut the
about
cost of child care.
the mother stays home or the father stays home? One of the parents stays home.
Folks,
Then you don't have to pay for child care.
if you live in a major city in America, you pay up to $14,000 a year for child care per child.
Sounds like if you have two
I
kids,
was a
it's worth it to
single
stay
dad
home.
for 5 years, raising 2 kids. I had a lot of help, though. I had a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister that really helped.
Yeah, and then when your
Middle
wife
class and
died, you
working
married
folks
their
shouldn't have
babysitter,
to
and
pay
that is
more than
Dr. Jill
7%
Stein.
of
Did
their
you know
income to
that?
care for the young children.
His
My
wife died and
plan-
you married their babysitter.
My plan would cut the cost of child care in half for most families.
Would it? Really?
And help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't afford child care, to be able to get back to work,
Is that what we
generating
want?
economic growth. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care.
Put these women
More
back
affordable
into
housing.
the workplace. They were able to finally
Pre-K
escape.
for 3 and 4-year-olds. All
Let's make
these
sure
will
those kids
lower
are
costs
indoctrinated
for
from
families.
pre-K all
Under
the
my
way into
plan,
college.
Nobody,
That's what I
let me
want.
say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Not a single penny.
That is one, absolute horseshit, and two, inflation is a hidden tax.
I may be wrong, but
I
my
may be
guess is
wrong.
if we took a secret ballot in this floor, that we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair.
You guys
We have to
wrote
fix
it.
it.
You've
I'm
been
not
there
looking
for
to punish
40
anybody.
years, Joe.
But let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share.
Why haven't you
Look,
done that as of yet, buddy?
last
You,
year-
Pelosi, 80 years old, running again. Kamala Harris, she's a
Last
little
year-
younger, but still. Career politicians failing their people over
Like
and over
Chris
again
Coons and
and
Tom
promising yet
Carper.
something else.
And my distinguished congresswoman, we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined. And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies earned $40 billion in profit
40
and
billion.
paid zero in federal taxes.
Because
look,
of the loopholes
it's
that
not
you
fair.
wrote. You did
That's
that.
why I proposed a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations. We've got,
Yeah, sure.
and that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, we're able to put together, I was able to be somewhat helpful, 130 countries to agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at
That
home
sounds
by shipping
fucking
jobs and
terrifying.
factories
That sounds like no
overseas.
matter where you go, you'll
We'll
never be
raise
able to get away from
billions
the
of
U.S. government
dollars.
stealing your money.
That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who don't pay, who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. So that's my plan, but we have to go in more detail later. I'm
Yeah,
going to grow.
later,
We
later.
will grow the economy, lower the
Pass
cost
the
of
bill and then
families.
we'll read it, as Pelosi said
So
about Obamacare.
what are we waiting for? Let's get this done. We all know
Yeah,
we've got to
we'll
make
hammer out the
change.
details later. Just sign the bill, guys. There's more important details to go through. But we'll do
Folks.
that later. Come on, just do it. Come on. I promised a whole bunch of good shit, didn't I?
And while
I
you're
didn't
at
say any
it,
of the bad shit, did I?
confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve,
Here we go.
which
Wait, the
plays a
Federal Reserve?
critical role
Or the
and
Supreme
fighting
Court?
inflation.
Okay, Federal Reserve. I thought he
My
was gonna
plan
talk
will
about
not
the
only
Supreme
lower
Court.
costs and give families a fair shot, it will lower the deficit. The previous
No, it will
administration not
not.
only ballooned the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy and corporations, it undermined the watchdogs, the job of those to keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not
The ones
those
where you were
watchdogs
hiding in the
should be
basement?
able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? But in my
I don't remember you
administration,
talking about that in a debate. No.
watchdogs are back. And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of
This
relief
is
money
him. I just want to point out
meant
this
for
is
small
him
business and
pushing
millions of
for
Americans.
more
Tonight,
IRS
I'm announcing
agents.
that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud.
That's gonna end up going after a lot of
Look.
monetary incentives. I don't trust that that's gonna stick to the pandemic fraud. No way in hell. That's gonna go into
think we
all
all
kinds of
agree.
different
Thank
shit. It's
you.
probably gonna get renamed.
By the end of this year, the deficit will be down to less than half of what it was before I took office. The only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Lowering your cost also meant
I'm not gonna
demanding
tell
more
say he's a liar,
competition.
but that doesn't sound right.
I'm a capitalist. But capitalism without competition is not capitalism.
That's correct.
Capitalism without competition is exploitation. It drives up profits.
You're a weird guy, Joe. You're a weird guy.
Corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up when they don't have to compete. Small businesses and family farmers and ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what? You got 4 basic meat packing facilities. That's it. You play with them or you don't get to play at all. And you pay a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic, about half a dozen or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. And folks,
Announcing a crackdown? What does that mean? A crackdown on businesses overcharging consumers. What does that mean? We're going to be controlling prices for like vast swaths of the economy? What does that mean?
and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up.
Yeah, because
That
you've been
ends
living
in
in
my
them, I
watch.
bet.
Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure your loved ones get the care they deserve and that they inspect and they will look at closely. We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going
Okay.
strong and giving workers a fair shot. Provide
You're gonna
more
have better
training
service and
apprenticeships,
cutting
hire
costs.
them
With
based
Medicare,
on
it's already
skills,
known
not
for
just their
not paying
degrees.
out.
Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
$15,000.
And
Why
extend
not?
the child tax credit so no one has to raise a family in poverty.
Just give everybody free
Let's increase
money.
Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs,
I'll give you everything.
and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community colleges. Look, let's pass the PRO Act. When a majority of workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped. When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time. Build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know
Because of
you're
you.
tired,
Because of your
frustrated,
lockdowns.
and
That's all
exhausted.
your fault. And
Can't
Trump's,
even
to be
count
fair. He started the
close
2 weeks to
1
sell
million
his bread.
people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair.
Because of
Because they lost
Cuomo?
somebody. But I also know this. Because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to a more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on
So
projections,
doesn't that mean that it literally never mattered
based on
before?
projections,
Why all of a sudden is that okay?
More of the country will reach that point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we've made in the past
What's changed?
COVID-19
The
no
vaccines?
longer need control our lives. I know some are talking about
What if it
living with
mutates?
COVID-19. But tonight, I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases. And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard.
Goodbye, COVID.
Here are
Hello,
4
Ukraine.
common-sense steps as we move forward safely.
Well, let's make sure we keep a lot of the
First,
rules that we could use.
Stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are. If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection.
That's
We'll
not
never
true.
give up on vaccinating more Americans. Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children.
Crazy people.
Scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with plenty of vaccines if and when they do.
If and when they're giving up on the
We
vaccine.
are also ready
Vaccine
with
chapter.
antiviral
Sorry, the
treatments.
season of COVID is
If you
over,
get
and the
COVID-19,
Ukraine
the
season
Pfizer
has
pill
begun.
reduces your chances of ending up in the hospital by 90%.
This is the last time he'll ever talk
I've
about
ordered
COVID.
more pills than anyone in the world has. Pfizer's working overtime to get us 1 million pills this month and more than double that next month. And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative.
They're done.
So people can
They're
get
done
tested
with
at a
COVID.
pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no
Yep.
cost.
They're pushing the Pfizer pill instead of the
Folks.
Pfizer vax. The vaccine idea is over, and the war on Ukraine has begun. This is
If you're
not as good a news as you would think, but at least we don't have to worry about that.
If you're
kind of shit as much
immunocompromised
anymore.
or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward. On testing, we've made hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests. Go to covidtest.gov starting next week, and you can get more tests. Second, we must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten
Here's
much
the
better at
surveillance
detecting
bill.
new variants.
Surveillance bill time.
If necessary, we'll be able to develop new vaccines within 100 days instead of maybe months or years. And if Congress provides the funds we need, we'll have new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed. I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to
We
be ready
definitely
if
won't push
does.
it as hard as the other variants
Third.
we did.
We can end the shutdown of schools and businesses. We have the tools we need. It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government. The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open. Let's keep it that way. Our kids need to be in school.
Thanks for catching up with the rest of us for the last 2 years, buddy. About fucking time. But you know this is specifically because they need the tax money to pay for the war that they're planning. They're done scaring people with COVID, now they're scaring people with nuclear war, and this will be the next chapter, and who knows what happens when that page turns.
And hospitalizations down by 77%. Most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and
What's he
move
gonna float?
forward safely. We achieved this because we
weird.
provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks. Of course, continuing this costs money, so I'll not surprise you. I'll be back to see you all. And I'm going to soon send a request to Congress. The vast majority of Americans had used these tools and may want again. We may need them again, so I expect Congress, and I hope you'll pass that quickly. Fourth, we'll continue vaccinating the world.
The
We
world.
sent 475 million vaccine doses to 112 countries, more than any nation on earth. We won't stop because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread.
Can't build a wall
These
high enough to
diseases.
take out a vaccine. The vaccine
You know,
can
we've
stop the
lost
spread
so
of these
much in
diseases.
COVID-19.
What a statesman.
Time with one another. The worst of all, the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans. Look,
Fellow Americans. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Like the fucking mask. We're like sheep.
We can't change how divided we've been. It was a long time in coming. But we can change how to move forward on COVID-19 and other issues that we must face together. I recently visited New York City Police Department days after the funerals of Officer Wilbur Mora and his partner, Officer Jason Rivera. They were responding to a 9/11 call when a man shot
9/11 call
with a stolen gun. Officer Mora was 27 years old. Officer Rivera was 22 years old. Both Dominican Americans who grew up in the same streets that they later chose to patrol as police officers. I spoke with their families, and I told them they were forever in debt for their sacrifices, and will carry on.
Their families were fucking happy to talk to you. No, they kicked his ass out of bed.
Like some of you that have been around for a while, I've worked with you on these issues for a long time. I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan,
so now they have to shoot people
that
instead.
You all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies.
There's more money. Figure it out.
Proven strategies like...
So you can't chokehold people. But you better not shoot anybody. You can't do
proven
no
strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma.
Better not tase them either.
Giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police.
The Progressive Caucus is gonna love that line. Oh boy.
Fund them.
Oh, that's gonna cause some interesting headlines tomorrow.
Fund them with
Nobody
resources
wants to defund the police. Oh, you are about to get a big wake-up call from your Progressive Caucus there, buddy.
I ask Democrats and Republicans alike to pass my budget and keep our neighborhoods safe. And we'll do everything in my power to crack down on gun trafficking, of ghost guns that you can buy online, assemble at home.
Oh my goodness.
Can't be traced. I ask
Ghost
Congress to pass
gun,
proven measures to reduce gun violence. Pass universal background checks. Why should anyone on the terrorist list be able to purchase a weapon? Why?
They literally can't. They
Why?
literally can't. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but you have to get a background check if you go to Walmart and buy a gun. I know, because I did.
High-capacity magazines hold up 100 rounds.
So, they usually
You
jam.
think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests?
We're not for deer, they're
Repeal the
for
liability shield
tyrants.
that makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that can't be sued. The only
Good.
one.
Because crazy
Imagine
crackpots
had
like
we
you
done
will
that
sue
with
them
the
every time there's a
tobacco
fucking...
manufacturers. These laws don't infringe on the Second Amendment. They save lives.
That's
the most
ridiculous.
fundamental right
That's
in
fucking
America is the
silly.
right to vote and have it counted. And look,
No, it's not.
it's under assault.
What are you talking about? The most fundamental rights are the rights
state,
of
new
a
laws
life,
have been
liberty, and the
passed.
pursuit of happiness.
Not
Voting was
only
not the
suppress
most fundamental
vote,
right
we've
when
been there
America was
before,
created.
but to subvert the entire election.
Subvert.
Let this happen.
Ooh.
Tonight I call
Spicy
on the
anti-Semitic
Senate,
language there.
Pass the Freedom to Vote Act. Pass the John Lewis Act, Voting Rights Act. And while
It's
you're
not
at
gonna
it,
happen, dude. It's not
pass
gonna
the
happen.
Disclose Act so Americans know who's funding our election. Look,
Just pass everything
Tonight-
he wants, I guess.
I like to honor someone who dedicated his life to serve this country.
Oh, let's take
Justice
a left turn
Breyer,
here.
An Army veteran,
Okay,
constitutional
yeah. Here we
scholar,
go to talk about this black chick that
retiring
you don't want to
Justice
be
of the
doing
United
this
States
in
Supreme
the
Court. Justice Breyer,
Supreme Court.
thank you for your service. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You know, they announced his retirement before he wanted them
Get up,
to, and he was
stand
real
up and
pissed
see.
about it.
Thank you.
Knows John Roberts, that motherfucker.
And we all know,
Smiling motherfucker.
no matter what your ideology, we all know one of the most serious constitutional responsibility a president has is nominating someone to serve on the United States Supreme Court.
That's not supposed to be that big of a fucking deal. You made it a big deal by legislating for the bench.
Days ago,
Well, not you, but
I've nominated the Circuit Court of Appeals, Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of our nation's top legal minds.
Since when?
Who continue in Justice Breyer's
She's just a regular neoliberal judge.
legacy of excellence.
At least she's not massively progressive, so. But
Former
she's
top
bad on
litigator in private
digital
practice.
privacy.
A former federal public defender, from a family of public school educators and police officers. She's a consensus builder. Since she's been nominated, she's received a broad range of support, including the Fraternal Order of Police, and former judges supported by Democrats and Republicans. Folks, if we are to advance liberty and justice, we need to secure our border and fix the immigration system.
What the fuck? I don't know every person is important. And we need to use the border. Like, just jump. He's got like a bullet point list, but he doesn't know how to appropriately segue from one to the other. He's just
As you
getting
might
tired.
guess,
He's getting
I think
sleepy.
we can do both. At our border, we've installed new technology like cutting-edge scanners to better detect drug
Walls.
smuggling. We've set up joint patrols with Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers. We're putting in place dedicated immigration judges in a significant larger number so families fleeing persecution and violence can have their cases heard faster, and those who don't legitimately hear can be sent back. We're screening, we're securing commitments and supporting partners in South and Central America to host more refugees and secure their own borders. We can do all this while keeping lit the torch of liberty that has led a generation of immigrants to this land, my forebears and many of yours. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those with temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Revise our laws so businesses have workers they need and families
Revise
don't wait
our laws
decades
so
to reunite.
businesses have workers
It's
they
not only the
need.
right thing to do, it's economically smart thing to do.
What does that mean?
That's why the immigration reform is supported by everyone from labor unions to religious
The
leaders
immigration
to the U.S.
reform.
Chamber of Commerce.
The immigration
Let's get
reform?
it done once and for all.
Do you mean the bill you're passing or just immigration
Folks.
reform? Because, yeah, everybody wants immigration reform, but we think you're fucking retarded at doing it. Look at Maisie Grono
Advancing
back there.
liberty
This
and
chick.
justice also
She's gone.
requires protecting the rights of women.
Oh!
Constitutional right of
Here we
by Roe v.
go.
Wade,
Here
standing
we go.
precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before. If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose,
Yeah,
and continue to advance maternal health care. for
Women
all
cannot be
Americans.
happy unless they all know that they can kill a baby in any state in this nation
Folks.
up and to the point of birth.
For our LGBTQ plus
Ow.
Americans, let's finally
We're going
get
from
the
niche to
Bipartisan
niche to
Equality
niche.
Act to my desk. The onslaught of state laws targeting transgender Americans and their families.
Who? When?
Simply
Where? What are you
wrong.
talking about?
I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I'll always have your back as your president, so you
Yeah,
can be yourself.
he'll be sniffing you
and
from your
reach your
back for
God-given
sure. The
potential.
younger, more trans you are, the more you'll be
Folks.
right in your back. Right, right in your back, like that
As
lady was
I've-
just doing.
Just demonstrated, although often
Their
it appears we
families.
do not agree, and that we do agree on a lot more things than we acknowledge. I signed 80
Transgender
bipartisan
individuals
bills
and their
in the law
groomers,
last year,
as in not really their families.
from preventing government shutdowns, to protecting Asian Americans from still too common hate crimes, to reforming military justice, and will soon be strengthening the Violence Against Women Act that I first wrote 3 decades ago.
Yeah, Violence Against Women
It's
Act. Let's
important.
get some violence against women. All right, that
It's
one I
important for
support.
us to show
Support the Violence Against Women
show
Act.
the nation
We need more violence against
we can
women.
come together and do big
Acts.
things. So tonight I'm offering a unity agenda for the nation. 4 big things we can do together, in my view. First, beat the opioid epidemic. There's so much we can do.
Beat the opioid epidemic. You know, that would
Increase
require a little
funding
bit
for
of closing the
prevention,
border.
treatment, harm reduction, and recovery. Get rid of outdated
Oh, like the
rules
crack
that stop
pipe bill you
doctors
put out?
that
One
stop
crack pipe
doctors
for every
from
American?
prescribing treatments.
Prescribing.
Stop the flow of illicit drugs by working with state and local law enforcement to go after the traffickers. And if you're suffering from addiction, you should know you're not alone.
Yeah,
I believe
my
in
son
recovery,
is.
and I
He's a
celebrate
crackhead.
the 23 million Americans in recovery.
Including your
Second,
son? Ah, I thought he'd
Let's
say
take
it.
on mental health, especially among our
Let's
children
take on
whose
mental
lives
health.
and education have been turned upside down. American Rescue Plan gave schools money to hire teachers and help students make up for lost learning. I urge every parent to make sure your school does just that. They have the money. We can all play a part. Sign up to be a tutor or a mentor. Children were also struggling before the pandemic: bullying, violence, trauma, and the harms of social media. As Frances
Yeah, I was thinking
Haugen,
the same thing.
who is here tonight with us, has shown, we must hold social media platforms accountable for the national experiment they're conducting on our children for profit.
You know, if you're talking about national experiments that are conducted on children, how about this vaccine that you're pushing on people? And the fact that you say
Folks,
that children are dealing with mental health when you put a mask over them, and some children
Thank
have
you.
never seen a stranger smile, that may lead
Thank
towards
you for the
more
courage
negative
you
mental
showed.
health consequences than any of this nonsense that you're talking
It's time
about.
to strengthen privacy protection.
Fucking nutburger.
Ban targeted advertising to children.
No,
Demand tech companies
you don't
stop
understand what that
collecting
means.
personal data on our children. And let's
That is
get all
simply
Americans
an attempt to
mental
control
health
the internet.
services they need. More people can turn for help and full parity between physical and mental health care if we treat it that way in our insurance.
I don't really care about
Look.
that, to be honest. Parity of mental and physical health care. Crazy people need doctors, I guess. Reopen the fucking mental wards where
third
people
piece
can
of
go
that
so there's not so many
agenda
homeless people.
Is support our veterans.
Sure, you're gonna need
Veterans are the
to because there's a
backbone
whole lot
and
more
the
about
spine
to exist.
of this country. They're the best of us. I've always believed that we have a sacred obligation to equip those we send to war and care for those in their family when they come home. My administration is providing assistance in job training, housing, and now helping lower-income veterans get VA care debt-free. And our troops in Iraq,
Because of the war that
face
you
them-
sent them
against
into, you
face many
motherfucker.
dangers.
Yeah, they probably
one
need
being
mental health care
stationed
because
at
of the
bases breathing
nonsense
in
wars that
toxic
you are
smoke
currently
from
leading them
burn
into.
pits.
Toxic smoke from burn pits, like the ones that
Many
they're
of you
about
have
to have
been
to
there.
encounter in Eastern Europe, where
I've been
you
in and out
just
of
sent
Iraq
them
and
today.
Afghanistan over 40 times.
That's okay, Kami, you can go.
These burn
It's-
pits that
I
incinerate
understand.
waste, the waste of war, medical and hazards material, jet fuel, and so much more. And they come home. Many of the world's fittest
Peace.
and best trained warriors in the world.
I'm playing Modern Warfare 3 after this.
Never the same.
Just to
Headaches,
kind of for the
numbness,
vibe, you know?
dizziness.
It's like a Russian invasion vibe.
Cancer that would put them in a flag draped coffin. I know. One of those soldiers was my son,
What was that
Major Bo
boom?
Biden.
Oh, yeah,
I
we
don't
know.
for sure if the burn pit that he lived near, that his hooch was near, in Iraq and earlier than that in Kosovo, is the cause of his brain cancer, the disease of so many other troops. But I am committed,
Well, probably the
to
weird
find
MK Ultra
out
experience you
everything
put
we
him
can.
under.
Committed to military families like Danielle Robinson from Ohio, the widow of Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson. He was born a soldier, Army National Guard, combat medic in Kosovo and Iraq, stationed near Baghdad, just yards from burn pits the size of football fields.
Yeah, the ones
Danielle
that you
is here
probably,
with us tonight.
you know.
They love going
authorized.
to Ohio State football games.
Oh, it's a woman. Of course it's a woman. Look at this female veteran. She got in burn pits. Now she can't smell no more. Give her money. Give me money so I can give her money. But probably won't give her
And
money.
he
Oh,
loved
Jill
building
Stein.
Legos with their daughter. But cancer from prolonged exposure to burn pits ravaged Heath's lungs and body. Danielle says Heath was a fighter to the very end. He didn't know how to stop fighting, and neither did she. Through her pain, she found purpose.
I'm
demand that
sorry,
we do better.
Dark Sage. I had a Biden bingo
Tonight,
thing set up and I
Danielle,
totally
we are
fucked it
gonna
up,
do
but
better.
whatever. That kind of went
VA
out the window.
The VA is pioneering new ways of linking
free scare was
toxic
Trump, by
exposure
the way. I'm
disease
surprised he hasn't said the
already
name yet.
helping more veterans get benefits. And tonight, I'm announcing we're expanding eligibility to veterans suffering from 9 respiratory cancers. I'm also calling on Congress to pass a law to make sure veterans devastated by toxic exposure in Iraq and Afghanistan
Pelosi's
finally
already
get
up
the
clapping.
benefits of the comprehensive health care they deserve.
Cool, man. Whatever. Give them health care. I mean, you promised to do that like 20 years ago, and you never did, so I guess go for it. Spend more of them. At that, I don't really care about.
And fourth and last, let's end cancer as we know it.
Oh, this whole thing.
This is personal.
Personal. Very personal. It's because he wants an mRNA cancer drug. He wants more funding for Tony Fauci's mRNA cancer drug. And, you know, that's his cause because his son died of brain cancer.
This is personal to me and to Jill and to Kamala and so many of you. So many of you have lost someone you love. Husband, wife, son, daughter, mom, dad.
Blah, 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 blah.
Cancer is the
Prepare for
number 2
nonsense.
cause of death in America, second only to heart disease. Last month,
Oh, I don't know,
I
Dark
announced
Sage. I
a
think he's
plan
some
to
sort of just
supercharge the cancer
random
moonshot
senile
that
person that
President
walked
Obama
into the
asked me to
house.
lead 6 years ago.
They're just
Our goal
know,
is to cut cancer death rates
making
by at
him
least
feel okay.
50% over the next
Making him feel like
25
he's
years.
listened
I
to.
think we can do better than that. Turn cancers from death sentences into treatable diseases. More support for
we
patients
did
and their
that
families.
for most of them.
To get there, I call on Congress to fund what I call ARPA-H, Advanced
Is he
Research
going to remember?
Projects Agency for Health.
Okay, he remembered the acronym. Good for
Patterned
him.
after DARPA and the Defense Department. Projects that led in DARPA to the internet, GPS, and so much more to make our forces more safer and be able to wage war with more clarity. ARPA will have a singular purpose: to drive breakthroughs in cancer, Alzheimer's and diabetes, and more. A unity agenda for the nation. We can do these things. It's within our power, and I don't see a partisan edge to any one of those 4 things. My fellow Americans, tonight we've gathered in this sacred space,
Sacred.
the citadel of democracy, in this capital.
Oh, it's a...
Generation after generation.
not a
of
rainbow,
Americans
man.
debated
It's a-
great questions, amid great strife,
Clown
done
World.
great things.
Honkler. He
We
represents
fought for freedom,
Clown World.
expanded liberty, debated totalitarianism and terror.
Probably not.
We built the strongest, freest, and most prosperous nation the world has ever known. Now is the hour, our moment of responsibility.
I mean, he
Our
already
test
basically
of
said we're going to war
resolve
with
and
Russia,
conscience.
so this is all superfluous at
History
this
itself.
point.
It is in this moment that our character of this generation is formed. Our purpose is found. Our future is forged. Well, I know this nation. We'll meet the test, protect freedom and liberty, expand fairness and opportunity, and we will save democracy. As hard as those times have been, I'm more optimistic about America today than I've been my whole life, because I see the future that's within our grasp, because I know there's simply nothing beyond our capacity.
As far as the war
We're the
goes,
only
I
nation on
am,
earth that has
when I
always
post no
turned
more brother
every
wars, I
crisis
mean
we
no
faced
more brother wars.
into
So
an
I'm on
opportunity.
the side of
The only
whoever will
nation
end the
that can
war
be defined
faster.
by a single
Ukrainians lay
word,
down their arms and Russia
possibilities.
takes over, good. Russia lays
So
down
on
their
this
arms and
night,
backs off, good. As
On
long
our
as less white people get
245th
killed.
year as a nation, I've come to report on the state of the nation, the State of the Union. And my report is this: the State of the Union is strong because you, the American people, are strong. We are stronger today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago. And we'll be stronger a year from now than we are today. This is our moment to meet and overcome the challenges of our time. And we will, as one people.
Oh,
one
I
America,
care.
The United States of America.
Hold
God
on.
bless you
We can get
all,
into that.
and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him.
Go get him. Putin? Okay, that was weird. That was a weird ending. Alright. So... Fish, you asked, yeah, the Sadie, you know, the thing. You asked if I don't care about, well, first you asked which side of the war I'm on, and, I did an interview on my YouTube channel, just, I think I put it up yesterday. It was with a gentleman, an American expatriate, actually, who's living in Ukraine and fighting for the Ukrainian side. Now, me personally, I understand the grievances that Russia has. I completely understand that we have been pushing further towards their border, further and further towards the east, further and further through different countries that initially, when NATO was made, we promised that we wouldn't go into. And Putin is dealing with the reverse of what we were dealing with in the Cuban Missile Crisis. So, that being said, I get why he went to Ukraine. I thought he would end at the Donbas region. He would end with Luhansk and Donetsk, but because technically he could have just been like, that's not technically Ukraine, I'm just in these independent areas. But once he crossed into moving towards Kiev, obviously that was off the table. So I don't think that might have been the best move. I think that ending in Donbas probably would have been the smartest, because he wouldn't have had to kill anybody else. He would have been able to make his point and he didn't have to move on. But he apparently cares about reuniting the Soviet Union as it used to be. Yeah, Russia likes great Iran, so Russia is greater than Ukraine. Yeah, I'm a fan of Iran. I think Iran's not a bad country. A lot of people paint it as like the biggest state sponsor of terror in the world. I don't believe that. I believe the United States and Israel and the UK and that conglomeration of EU, those nations are the biggest state sponsors of terror, because we literally just do whatever we want and people listen to us. Which is why it makes it interesting that Russia's having this war, because there's the possibility that Russia is having this, that Putin is finally making his great gambit, that he's finally going, having taken up all of these resources from all of these people all throughout my life, I will now use them to destroy the global cabal, and I will fight so that the Western world no longer controls everybody, and we can create our own, sovereign paradigm and our own sphere of influence and away from the West, and blah, 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 blah. But that seems to me like an incredibly naive view to take, considering that Putin took the trip to Israel. Putin is part of the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab has talked about having people in Putin's inner circle. He is just another branch of the globo-homo elite that want to control the entire world, and it's being used specifically, in my opinion, to distract from medical things that they don't want talked about. You got the devil. What side is Israel on the war? The Synagogue of Satan is currently dealing with a problem. Well, Israel is currently dealing with a bit of an issue because they get a lot of their... They have a lot of shipping back and forth, a lot of trade with Russia, and they can't really screw that up. And I was talking to an Israeli, actually, about it the other day, and he said that because they have trade with both nations, they want to keep kind of neutral in the war, but considering our stance on it, they're probably going to have to lean more towards the Western stance. In my opinion. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be right back in about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to start playing Modern Warfare 3 for anybody who wants to stick around and watch. So, I'll be back. Oop, wrong button.